Hello, hello, buongiorno a tutti. It's a very nice day and you're all very curious. So today I thought let's apply the first layer of oil varnish on the Testore, which I brought to Venice to see how it is. I made a few changes on the scroll especially and some minor adjustments. Then I glued in the neck and I applied my casein protein calcium preparation, how you know. And now last evening I put it on as well. That's something I always do, a layer of shellac as well. So it's getting a little bit more like it is in the original, okay? And I think it's getting already very good. So to varnish, I always put here this here to protect my clothes, right side. This one is already pretty well used, so it was very good. You can even find it on my online store. It's also sewed by my sister Margit in Austria. Yeah, and I like it very much. And I buy them here in Cremona and then I get them nicely done for me and for you. Okay, so this is now my varnishing room. It isn't so fancy and nice as the other one, but it's actually the room where I'm like me and my violin, and I really enjoy it. A little bit far away. For a long time I only varnished at my house and then I varnished here. This here, you might think, what is this? Is a traditional lamp for working on the working bench, and then I took off the lamp and I installed this kind of lamp, which probably many of you would love to have as well. Here I put the light on, okay, and it makes a strange light, but it is a true light. So there is a small bulb inside here, a halogen, but it could be every kind of light. And then there is a piece of glass, optical glass fiber, and the light which comes out is the true color. Now you might think this is not true and the rest is true. The rest is lit light and has no red inside at all. Outside we have the sun, which is true light, and this one is very similar to true light, okay? Probably now you all think you need to have this kind of lamp. I just have it in order when I'm varnishing at night. Then I like to have it so my colors are correct. These rags are here to dry like this, because if you put them together with linseed oil and you put them in the litter box, you're risking that your litter box overnight gets fire. So never put a rag with linseed oil together like this somewhere. It will start burning. So that's why I always put them here, and when the next day I come here, people think I'm a messy guy. Not at all. Once they're dry, then you can throw them away. Okay? Next thing, something I always said, I have always some kitchen towels here. And I don't use it for the varnish, but I use it for my brushes. And my brushes are these synthetic brushes from here from Italy, but you can take them all over. The company I don't even know. I just get it here in the store. But it's a very soft synthetic brush. And I like to use them in order to have a great result. You might not think so, but the brush itself does a big difference. If it's not well brushed, it doesn't work very well. Well, another thing which I usually always have here are some pigments, red, blue, and yellow. And you wouldn't think so, but these are the pigments I'm adjusting the varnish, okay? And then I have some other pigments already mixed. Now the brands, believe me, the brands are not so important. You just can start using them, and then this is also red, for instance, Le Franc Bourgeois, whatever. This is another mixture. Probably I never used it that much, so that's why it's still good. I never find the right numbers and color codes, so it's just, I just use it as a base and then I start adjusting the varnish. Now, when I in December cooked the varnish, this was a big jar and there was another big jar. When I start using the big jar and I open it up, because there's no light inside, then I pour it in small jars all together, once again without air. So every time I use something from these jars and I put color inside, I have another jar. So it's very obvious that I buy a lot of marmalade in small jars, right? And so then I have my colors here, brown, I even write it in English, marrone rosso, red brown, giallo, yellow, rosso marrone, transparent dama. That one I don't like that much anymore, so we put it aside, okay? Now the first layer I put on, instead of putting now a yellow or something, I like to put the first one just transparent. So now I just put the transparent layer and you can see how I'm putting the transparent on, but I don't have a transparent jar here, so we want a new transparent one. I take this small one. Okay, yep. This is just the varnish, how it comes from my varnishing cooking. Blow inside, so if there's no dust anymore. This time, for the first time, I put this tape on in order that I don't have to clean it later on, but usually I never do it. This time I did it. You want to see if it is convenient or not. And this is now the varnish. And for the first thing I'm doing, I put it on the scroll. Now, there are a lot of people who don't varnish inside the back box, while I think it is, since I'm not originally born in Italy, I pay a lot of attention to the Italian style. And so for me, as a not super 100% Italian, living over the past 35 years in Italy, I pay a lot of attention to this small detail. And I think that it is very Italian to have the peg box and the F-holes varnished for Italian instruments, while Italians themselves don't pay that much attention on this, and then they take some tempera black and then they put this on. So I put a little bit here also on the scroll. It's not important that you put a lot. It's just a little bit, okay? And this instrument becomes quite light, so I will probably make a few layers. And then certainly later on, then I put it into the UV box. And you might say, then the varnish is drying very quick. Actually, during daylight, it is drying much quicker. This is when it is varnished, yeah? And this is when it is not varnished, okay? So now you can see that it is all shiny already, especially on this side. I put the transparent for this reason, because in case it is going in, penetrating a little bit in some spots, with this kind of layer, it is sealing it, okay? Now I put here a little bit on this next side here. And how you can see, it is not my first layer in my life, so I'm already a little bit quicker. I see it always if some of my apprentices are varnishing, they take a lot of time. Yeah. So usually I'm varnishing first the ribs, then the scroll, then the back, and then the top. The top for the last one, because out of the F-holes there comes a lot of dust, and by moving around the instrument, I don't want to have the dust immediately attaching to the rest of the instrument, right? So I do it like this, and the ribs and scroll first, because by moving the instrument it doesn't collect that much than if I would put it first on the back, let's say, you know. The back is a big surface, and so then also again you're collecting a lot of dust, and you somehow try to be quick in order that you avoid that too much dust is going to stick on the varnish before it is dry. Further, you see that here in Cremona we are in a very lovely quiet environment. We're not in, let's say, I don't want now to talk bad about Mexico City, let's say. I just know that it's a pretty busy town and a lot of people all together in the same area. Or New York, downtown. And then there might be a lot of things in the air which is all going into your varnish. Yeah, so then you wouldn't open up your windows. I'm here in a lucky downtown area with a garden, so we just have here very fresh air, especially in the morning. It is a very lovely and great environment. So I take for a layer approximately 25 to 30 minutes. Yeah, if you're a newcomer in varnishing, it will take you a little bit longer, because you still have to discover how much varnish you have to put on, right? And every step and everything. But believe me, even myself, I was not born with this ability. I all learned it myself while doing. And the more you do, the quicker you are. You always have to pay attention not to have something like this. You don't want to have something like this, okay? That becomes very ugly. So you always have to be very quick, but regular in applying. And also here at the edge, for instance, in the beginning, you put too much varnish, and then it is also ugly. Now that I'm varnishing, I don't have these problems anymore. So we have now scroll and ribs. Usually here also I make immediately this flow here, this, I don't know how you call it, in German Schattierung, or in Italian sfumatura. Okay, and then we put here, I take this ugly old brush, let's see if this works. And then we put on the back, right? I like to put a little bit on here. This is the brown varnish, no pigments inside. This is just from the oven, from the stove of happy varnishing cooking. So now it's a little bit too much for me here, so you see, I use quite a lot of power, yeah? But under the brush, it's even that I don't even have to look. I can feel it how it is, you know? And it's like massaging the violin with varnish here, the surface. And you don't want to have a thick layer. Certainly it's thicker than a layer of spirit varnish, but you want it that it is everywhere, but it is nicely spread, okay? And it is not so easy to have a varnish which you are able to spread very well. Most people always are focusing that the varnish is drying, and once you have a varnish which is drying too fast, then you even have difficulties to spread it. So very nice. I think this is a very regular layer, and now I also make it on the top. Okay. Yes, you're right, I'm varnishing with the fingerboard. I think just that it is very nice. And it is also that all the great masters were actually varnishing with fingerboard. But this was actually the traditional way, And I somehow think it is also nicer. The neck becomes easier to make it great, and it's more precise, I think. Yeah, but some other people varnish the neck and the body separately, and after varnishing they put in the neck finally, in order that it's all varnished to the very last edges of the instrument. I don't think that this is so important. I love to pay attention to more precise areas. I hope you can see what I'm doing. And once I'm around the F-holes, then immediately I also go inside the edge, and I also varnish all the F-holes very nicely, because I think this is very Italian. Okay, and I don't want to put here black inside like the Germans. Yeah. And now you might think that, oh my God, I also have to cook the varnish, and I know how it is, you know. If you are not in such a lucky area like me here in the countryside in Cremona, and I have my garden and I can cook my varnish, just drop me a message or ask me. I could maybe sell you some varnish of mine. I now also made the special requirements in order that I'm able to ship even the varnish, since it is inflammable goods and they want everything to be very nicely. So shipping companies from DHL and UPS. So yeah, but it's certainly, the price is high, and once you made it yourself and all the fuss with the stove and the jars and the amber and the linseed oil, and then the time it takes to cook, it's certainly very expensive. But on the other side, it is just amber and linseed oil. Okay, this is what I'm here applying, and I think it is a very easy to handle varnish. And I believe it is very, very similar to what the great masters applied to their instruments. I believe in the simplicity of things you put on your instruments. So now, since this is the first layer, I don't do any fading, or, you know, you can also use the fingers and things like this, but it's the first layer, and I don't do too much to it, you know. I just here pass my finger in order that I'm sure that there is no drop or anything, and I don't want to have a thick layer here on varnish on everything, you know. You just want to have a thin transparent layer, and all my other layers are more or less same thickness. If you don't want to have it too shiny here and you want to have a little bit appearance that it is like more wood actually, then you take it a little bit away with the rag like I'm doing right now, you know. Maybe also here with the hand will be later on. Yeah, but the instrument itself is not with too many spots. It was like we saw it on the video in Venice. It was actually pretty regular varnished, right? So we do it same thing also here. Yeah. So this was a quick layer of varnish here, and I put it now in my UV box. I will make a video about this, about the UV box. This is nothing fancy. This is just a ugly here cardboard here with the lamps inside, and I just put it inside, and then I have some things which is in front of the lamps because I don't want it sticking like this. So it's a little bit important that it's turning around and getting the air and the light from the sun. And the sunlight is 15 times stronger than my UV lamps, okay? So I hope you enjoyed seeing me how I'm putting on the varnish. It's the very first time I did this in front of the camera. If you need some varnish or you want some varnish, let me know. It takes a little bit of time. I'm going to cook a little bit and things like this. if you want to know more and make part of the live cooking of things and stuff like this, and more information, instructions, and then you can make more questions, then take part of my Patreon channel, and you will be happy to take part of this community, okay? I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Bye-bye. Great summer. Bye-bye.